Hello, and welcome to the comments for the last essay. So just a couple of things with the format, and then we'll take a look at the content. So just remember for MLA, you always want to have your last name and page number in the header itself, and then everything's good with the heading. Just remember that it's the international format, so it's day month rather than month day. And then you want to delete these extra spaces. Everything is just consistently double space. And then for the title, you capitalize all the kind of nouns, verbs, adjective, adverbs, and so on. And then you also italicize the Poison Chocolate Case because that's a novel. And then it's just regular font. There's no underline for your own title. And again, just delete all these extra spaces. Everything is just consistently double spaced there. So let's take a look at your introduction. And again, here would be good, like comma. Oh, and yeah, copying, not coping. very, very coping stories is something that we do probably. But yeah, just make sure you have all the right spelling there. Yeah, good. Yeah, so excuse me. So here's where you could actually connect these ideas to the research. So here's where, if you were going to publish this, for example, right, you would actually want to bring in the kind of research that's happening in adaptation studies here. Yeah, so same thing here, right? So here's where you could actually and I would actually break this up. So here is kind of the new topic, right? So you're talking about the general kind of ideas of adaptation, and then start with the history, and then you could kind of build that over a couple of, I would say almost 2 paragraphs where you could build up. So you could, especially when you're writing larger essays, you could really bring in and sometimes like a 2 to 3 even more introductory paragraphs, right? So you could build on the context before you get to your thesis. And again, same thing. So here the title would be italicized because it is a novel, and then you wouldn't need that double because we already have the in the title. So that's one thing that we do with writing. So, and then, yeah, again, a couple like this without a noun and so forth. Yeah, and so like here, yeah, you wouldn't capitalize this. This would be the same. Whoop. This would be the same sentence here. And you wouldn't need very genre. Yeah, so same thing. This would be a sentence fragment. So I'm seeing a couple of different fragmentations here. Yeah, good. And again, good, clear thesis. I like the idea, as I said, even in class. Excellent premise. And again, just delete these extra spaces. Now, same thing here. This would be italicized because it's a collection. Yeah, so in this case, it should actually be in the same sentence with the citation at the end. And here's where you want to build up and connect to. So a couple of things. These actually could be reincorporated into the beginning of your essay, where like here, where you so instead of like delaying the discussion of adaptation, you could establish how you're using this intertextuality to focus on the Poison Chocolate Case and Silence of the Lambs. So here would be another one. And so same thing with the topic sentence, right? Instead of saying like the handbook explains, use, of course, the author, right? So what we also need is a topic sentence argumentation here. So when we're bringing it up, instead of having these kind of short, abrupt sentences, we want to have kind of combine this into the kind of topic sentence and then expand it here. Same thing when you say like another, that should signal a new paragraph. So there's a couple of things I'm seeing with the paragraph structure that you could refine a bit more. And sentence structure, obviously, too, because there's a lot of fragmentation or abruptness that you could easily just refine a bit. So here's where, yeah, like we want your thesis to guide the essay. So as I said, like even with this section here, like these 2 elements could actually be reincorporated into the introduction. And then you could go much more swiftly into the argument of how, Silence of the Lamb is influenced by this work, and more immediately, right? Same thing here, like, by. So it's like there's a lot of these foundational points that you would want to um, expand upon, because this is the heart of the essay, right? This is the heart of your interpretation, because you're seeing something that, as far as I know, no one else has seen, right? Which makes it a really fun essay. So here's where the essay structure, though, can be refined to heighten the argumentation, right? So you're not kind of jumping back and forth, or you're not inferring rather than directly arguing. Because, like here, this almost sounds like the topic sentence should be for that paragraph. Because then you build upon this idea rather than having it end. This is what should be building this paragraph. So, again, there's a couple things that you could reconfigure. Same thing here, right? You don't delay, or what we call bearing the lead in academic essays. We always have a good, clear topic sentence, and then we build from there. So mainstream writing is always about delaying, right? Because we want to get the ad revenue, we want to do the hits and things like that, right? In terms of academic writing, it's all about building on an idea, right? You state a clear argument, and then you further it and you expand it, and so you don't delay anything. And so that's an important element to think about with the difference between um, academic writing and all others. And so same thing here, right? So the handbook is just an object. It can't explain anything. So here's where you want to refocus on Hutchin, expand it. Again, you're doing the same thing, whereas you're actually kind of like having a fragment here. This should be in the same sentence, like without replication, comma, which means, and then the citation would be at the end, and then you would build and compare from there, right? And again, just be careful with using very. Typically we don't want to use the very in academic writing here. Yeah, but I like that idea. Yeah, it's like same thing here, which is one. And so this could be all part of the topic sentence, which helps then lead into this idea, because again, it's a good idea. Yeah, I like this. Yeah, excellent. Good, good. Yeah, again, same thing here. Just refocus on STAM rather than focusing on the theory itself. The theory itself, right, doesn't exist, right, but STAM's ideas do. So, like, that we can measure that. So you just want to reconfigure the phrasing here. Yeah, and so here, this is where you'd want to expand and clarify, like, why is that meaningful, or what is significant about that idea? Yeah, so same thing here, right? You want to explain the connection and then add in more specific detail to build up on the topic sentence claim. Yeah, so same thing here. It's like, just avoid the breaking up of the sentence there. Yeah, so here it's like now then connected back to the ideas of adaptation studies, so that you're bringing up, right? How does that kind of go into what we're talking about? And just be careful too with like another, right? Because like here, another important, like that repetition of paragraphs becomes list-like, so you want to kind of avoid that close repetition here. Same thing with the structure with the quotes and so forth. So same thing here, right? Again, same thing with that. And again, title here. Then same thing, what we can do is join these sentences together to form a stronger topic sentence idea. Even for the conclusion, the topic sentence is crucial. So it becomes an important piece of literature, crime fiction universe, because it challenges, right? And so here is where we get, right? Yeah, good, good. Yeah, I like that. Oh yeah, so remember, whether it's MLA or APA, it's always going to be at the top of the page. But again, just regular font, no bold or anything, and it's works cited for APA. And then again, this should be italicized rather than in quotes. Gutenberg as well would be italicized. And then you wouldn't even need .org here. You would do Project Gutenberg. And then since you're using the URL, you always put the access date. And then everything else looks good. Yeah, so you actually capitalize access, and I believe there's a period, if I'm not mistaken. So just review that, and then cool. Yep. Yeah. So again, there's a lot of good kind of ideas here, right? And the premise is excellent. It's just, you brought it up in class. It's a really fun idea. The main thing, what I'm seeing is really just as a structure. There's nothing, at issue with the ideas themselves. It's more just building, refining those paragraph structures, and so forth. And it really starts at the introduction. You can see it even here, where like here's where you should mention Stam and a couple others, then move on to your interpretation and like to establish why you're making these connections, right? So there's just a few things you could do with the approach, right? Obviously, if you have questions, please email. If not, just best of luck to you next semester, and take care.